Welcome back, Karoth. I'm your host, Karothkin, where I tell you the story of what depths a husband will go to truly get vengeance for his family. Deep in South America during one evening in June, a husband was driving his family home from a trip. Everyone in his car was sleeping, everyone was tired, they had a long day. It was past 10:30 at night, so everyone was getting some rest except for Manny. During the drive home, there was a long stretch of roadway that people suggested don't drive on past 10 o'clock because usually cartels do running there. He decided he would take a chance because it seemed quiet that night and he would go down that road. When he was driving on that road, a van pulled up next to him. He tried to wave him down and say, hey, it's just one guy and his family. They didn't understand that and they opened up the side doors of a van and had 3 people with AK-47s unload on their car. Manny was able to get away from this event. His tires were popped all on one side and his whole side of his car was shot up. He drove away. He immediately drove to the nearest hospital. He got there. He said, I don't know what's going on. I just got shot on the freeway. I need help. He got himself patched up. He got his wife and his 3 kids to get looked at to make sure they would be okay. Finally, he passed out. The next day he woke up. He talked to the doctor and the doctor said, I'm sorry, but your family is gone. They got vital gunshot wounds that killed them. The upside is they didn't see it coming, they didn't feel anything, and they probably passed without any pain. Manny was enraged. Manny knew there's only a few cartels that use that road. I know who they are. I'm gonna find a way to get what I need to get them back. He starts calling his friends. He starts looking into resources. He was trying to track down the information to find out what cartels were running on that road that night. He couldn't find out a specific one. He found 3 different cartels that all run on that road, and the supposed leader of each of them and where they lived. Manny had quite a bit of information in front of him and a lot to sort through, and no leads on how to get the power that he needed to get the vengeance he desired. Manny talked to some of his more occult friends that like more dangerous things in life, that toy with the supernatural. His friends told him, hey, there's a club in Mexico City that's opened. It's run by a guy named O'Neill Flynn. Talk to him, tell him what happened, and he will give you what you need to get the vengeance you desire. But you need to be very careful with him because he's not necessarily the easiest to talk to. So he decides, you know what, it doesn't matter how easy this guy is to talk to. He's going to understand a father in grief. I will go to him and I will talk to him. So that night he goes to the club. He gets himself in, waits in a long line to get himself in, waits in a longer line to finally get a face-to-face talk with O'Neill, this red-haired, pale-skinned Irish guy standing before him. He goes, I see you've got yourself a problem here. Everyone comes to me with some kind of a problem. It's not a problem. I understand this. Tell me what you have going on in your life, Manny.
I've lost my family recently, and there is a lot of people that it could be involved that took my family from me. There is cartels involved, and I need to stop them. And they should be stopped in general, but this isn't about the greater good. This is about me fighting for my family.
Tell me what you're talking about with your family. Tell me about that.
You see, I was driving home and they destroyed my vehicle and they destroyed my family. I was the only one that survived. I have grave injuries inside that if I do not get money, I will not be able to survive as is. I need to find a way to overcome this obstacle and overcome any obstacles that will face me when confronting them and looking for justice.
You tell me you desire justice. This isn't justice that you're talking about, Beaver. This is vengeance. If vengeance is what you seek, then I shall help you. Pulls out a vial of red fluid. Drink this when you are in front of their house. One of their homes. All of their homes. And you will have the strength you need to destroy them and eliminate them in any way you see fit. Manny takes it, looks at it, and puts it in his pocket. If you succeed, I will be there. And you will be my associate for all time. That is the cost you must pay. I do not care about the cost. I only care that what is done is what is deserved and just. O'Neill smiles. Fangs. Says, very good. Go on. Get your justice. Manny leaves the club immediately. Goes down south to where he believes the first cartel is. Parks almost a mile out. Opens up the vial. Drinks it down. He feels immediately pain rack through his entire central nervous system as he feels his nerve endings dying one by one. Excruciating pain, but he's able to push through, thinking, this will give me what I need. I will go in there and I'll get justice for my family. He turns back on the engine and he guns it down the road, straight towards this big house. He barrels through the gates as guns are firing at him as he's charging into the house. He doesn't stop at the front gates. He drives his car straight through the front door, slamming it, stonework flying everywhere. He jumps out of the car. He's not even fazed by the accident he just caused. He jumps through the front window of the car as people in the house are shooting at him. Bullets hitting him left and right. He has not stopped. He's not even flinching for a second for all the bullet fire that he's taking. He lands on the floor. He jumps at the first guy, and he finds the strength in him to crush his skull in one hand. He looks at the next guy. His eyes are now turning pale from rage, and he grabs the next guy. His arms around him, and he squeezes as the guy pops, as his organs trail from the top of his throat. There's a third guy firing at him. He drops his gun. He leaves. Manny doesn't allow that at all. Manny grabs him from behind as he rips his entire hip bone out of his body. Manny isn't done there. Manny knows there's more people in the house. He can smell the light in the air, and he wants all of it to be extinguished. He eliminates everyone in the house. He finds the head of the household holding the wife's head in his hands and said, "This is what you made me." And he chucks it at the man. It hits him so hard in the chest, it collapses his chest, and he falls dead. Manny grabs the keys off one of the dead cars and drives to the next house. He gets there. He enters in the same way. Everyone firing bullets at him, trying to stop him. His car is bulletproof. He finds the whole family is sitting there having dinner. And he marches in there and he says, "You want to eat? Then eat." And he slams each of their heads into the table, fracturing wood all over their faces and collapsing their skulls on impact. The men see him coming and they run. They're like, "You just killed our boss, we're leaving." Manny doesn't allow a survivor. He grabs two of their guns and starts mowing all of them down, being surprisingly accurate with weapons now. Finally, he goes to the third house, where he really thinks this will finally be the justice I've seeked. This will finally be the end, and this will be the end of this night. He doesn't drive into this house, he walks in. People trying to tell him to stop. Every single time, he rips them in two. He marches into the house, people shooting guns at him, people trying to stop him. Every time he gets shot, he just walks straight through the hail of bullets. Nothing is able to stop Manny in his rage. Tearing through people, ripping them apart. Finally, he gets to the head of the cartel. With no one else in the room. The head of the cartel unloading everything he's got in Manny that's marching towards him step by step. Manny's joints are solidifying, his bones are hardening, his muscles are hardening. He feels the atrophy coming on that he feared would after so many hours. He fears he doesn't have enough strength in him to finish this last person off. And he stops after the bullets stop flying at him, looks the man dead in the eyes and says, "Are you the one that drove on that night and opened fire on my family?"
There was a family on the road that night. I did not know it was yours. If I had known this would be the repercussion, I would have thought better of it.
Manny looks at him and smiles and says, "It's too late now." And he jumps at him and he grabs him by the skull and he pins him to the table and slowly begins crushing. And then at the door walks in the pale Irishman that he talked to just earlier that evening. "This one you have to drink. Your vengeance is completed." Manny looks at him puzzled for a second, but in his mind he can't resist the idea to plunge his teeth into this man's jugular. So he does so. He lifts him up by the skull again. He's crying in fear, just so worried about what's going to happen. He bites into this man, and Manny feels the blood trickle down his throat. Sweet blood. It's something he was craving this whole time, but he didn't realize it. He didn't realize this is the thing he's been desiring. This is the completion to his quest that he's been hunting for. Not vengeance, but the blood of the guilty. And that is where this story ends. If you like this story and you want to hear more like it, please like and subscribe and become a member of the Karoth Crew.